Nickelodeon when they had Tiny Toons, and you didn't see this episode, and you were wondering, well, where is it? There's your reason, in my opinion. Basically because it portrayed or parodied Prince Charles and Princess Diana, the episode was never aired after her tragic death, except for maybe once or twice. And that was it. Now, I'm kind of surprised that they added it and included it into the DVD set. But I think what Warner Brothers is realizing, even though I don't know if they did the same with Elephant Issues or if they did the same with the Crypt Keeper parody, they're realizing that DVD is for basically home viewing only. It's not for, it's not, for anything shown at, shown to millions at the same time. It's not shown to millions at the same time. That's the thing. It's not shown. It's not shown to millions across the board at the same time. It's not shown to them across the board at the same time. So DVD essentially is more of a easier outlet to probably bring these episodes back and stuff. Some do come back and some don't. I mean, like I said earlier, and you can look this up with the Censored 11, not many of them do get an official re-release in any kind of medium because of their sensitivity. Now, Tiny Toons isn't the only ones that Warner Brothers had to kind of, not ban, but kind of censor up a little bit because of its controversy. Animaniacs, which is considered probably one of the most successful, if not most successful, that Warner Brothers and Steven Spielberg did, actually had to censor or edit up one of the more popular characters. And that was, of course, Minerva Mink. Now, what some people don't understand was when Minerva Mink first made her official debut in Hookley Yakko, I think that was one of the things that caused Warner Brothers to edit her design in a sense, because in her official solo debut, her solo cartoon, which was, airing-wise, episodic-wise, was Moon over Minerva, but production-wise would have been Meet Minerva. A lot of the things that they did was, one, her cleavage, if you will, her breast. The way it was designed made it to look too overly voluptuous or sexual, if you will. So basically they had to edit it to the point that fans gave this term of editing done to Minerva's breast, they gave it the term uniboob. Like a unibrow and all that gets connected. They basically looked at that and they said, they turned what would be a nice, basically fans looked at it and said, they edited her breast and they turned it into a uniboob. That's all they did. Just turned it into a puff of fur. I mean, you could see like a little line here and there, but it was mostly all edited out. And you could see that in her second solo cartoon, Meet Minerva, in a sense, because I think that's why instead of Meet Minerva airing first, even though it was produced first, it was held back for its editing. Now, here's the thing though. Minerva Mink, because of all this, because of the way that, as some people say, she was over-sexualized, was still part of the show. Was still part of the show in many ways, but she, excuse me, she among all the characters there has the least amount of animated shorts dedicated to her. It's true. She has the least amount of animated shorts dedicated to her. Now, now, comic book wise, she's probably got an equal amount of stories than any other character, if not more so. But because of the fact that parents and all that, parents and parental groups and all that had complained that she was too overly sexual for a children's cartoon, and that some of the inside jokes and innuendos were too much, she ended up having only 2 cartoons, and both, in a sense, were kind of slightly edited to where they would be viewable and acceptable on on daytime television. Now, this is what has led to Minerva getting such a huge fan base and being basically one of the, I guess you could say, founding queens of furry fandom, if you get my drift. Now, Warner Brothers isn't alone in this, though. Disney themselves, as depicted by Animat, have done some crazy things. They have. During the Second World War, they had a controversial Donald Duck cartoon while he was dreaming that he was working for the Nazis. And thankfully it was only a dream, even though I think they did do one where he was with them, or something like that. Now, they had done some racially insensitive cartoons, don't get me wrong. Even Aladdin made the list. Why? Because of the fact of because of the fact that you have a group of people, a group of, I can't think, what did Animat call them? Arab Americans, basically the Arab Americans. You have a certain group of Arab Americans that felt Aladdin was too, the overall film itself was too insulting, too insensitive for them. So even though it's one of the biggest hits around, it was still too overly sensitive. The way it depicted the people. It's like, with Aladdin and Jasmine, instead of giving them the colored skin traits of the Arab Americans, that instead they were treated as being white, even though they're supposed to be Arab. Though they were treated as being white Arab, if you will, with a Gen X-like quality. Well, the villains were depicted as, basically Arabs. This is how these groups look at it, how Disney felt Arabs were really looked at. I mean, even some of the lyrics in one of the songs, the opening song, had to be changed around because of this. So, again, Disney is no stranger to this, and that's why I say Warner Brothers isn't alone in all of this, because Disney has done this as well. In fact, even in the more modern cartoons of the past 20 to 30 years, they have done things with their episodes that have caused these episodes to be banned permanently, if not temporarily, from television. That's true. They have caused them to be banned. It caused them to be banned temporarily, if not permanently, from television and the rotations. And the only ways you could probably see them is through the DVD releases that you get, or that they release. And sometimes I think that's what kind of holds back on some of these shows, especially the Disney afternoon ones, from getting a full-fledged DVD release, DVD complete series release. Is due to the fact of some of these very sensitive, very sensitive and very controversial episodes that they had made. A good example, excuse me, a good example is and maybe I'm missing out on a few, but a good example would be Tailspin. Tailspin had not one, but I think 2 or 3 episodes. 2 that I know most of. One finally got re-aired when Tailspin was shown on Toon Disney. But even when Tailspin was back on Disney Channel and then on Toon Disney, it took a while before this episode was re-aired. And that episode is Last Horizons. And it's basically a more, I guess you could say, it's more of their take, in my opinion, of Pearl Harbor. And the pandas in the episode represented the Japanese attacking us. I mean, basically the premise was very similar to how things were depicted on how Pearl Harbor happened. Historically, I think we all knew that historically the U.S. thought Japan was not a problem. The peace treaty signings and all that were being done and everything. Then all of a sudden, we get attacked. They surprise us, they attack us, they Pearl Harbor us. And Last Horizons kind of depicted that very similar in a sense. Not exactly, but similar in story presentation. And it was because I think of this presentation of not just how the pandas represented the Japanese, but just the overall story itself was, I think, enough to temporarily remove Last Horizons from from the list, from the rotation, from the episodic rotation until about maybe 2000, early to mid 2000s. I know this because I recorded the episode on VHS in the early 2000s, so I'd say around the early to mid 2000s. Now you can find the episode on, I think, Tailspin Volume 2, I believe, on the DVD set. So you can find it there. You can find it there. And again, like I mentioned, that wasn't the only episode by Tailspin that got banned. Another one was called Flying Dupes. And this one basically dealt with, first of all, it dealt with Baloo teaching Spigot how to fly. Because Spigot wanted to show the main general, hey, I'm flying and all that. But the package that Spigot was supposed to deliver with Baloo's help, is not a real present. It's not a real. It's not a real present. It's none of that. It's not like it's not. It's basically it's not. Basically, the package is switched out to where the package that originally Spigot and Baloo are supposed to, deliver to the general, which he does get, is being switched with a bomb. Basically, the guy goes to it's a rebellious Zembrian or something like that, goes to hire for hire. They don't know what the package is, and yet they're delivering it, not knowing that the package is a bomb. And it's because of the fact that, again, I don't know what the reasoning was, but I think because of the fact that it's just showcasing, because Cape Suzette's supposed to, in its characters, I guess, is supposed to represent the United States. So by it basically showing the United States acting like idiots, if you will, not knowing that, we're delivering a bomb instead of a real reward or whatever it is, to the general of Thembria, which is their equivalent of Russia, I guess it was enough to get taken off the air. Now, I can also probably understand the time frame as well. See, 1995 had a lot to do with the banishment or editing of several shows, live action and animated, on television. So, Flying Dupes basically being taken out of circulation, or basically edited, if you will, or taken out of circulation temporarily until the DVD releases, kind of gave you an idea of why, in my opinion, the episode was banned. Now, if anybody has any more information as to why it was really banned, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. But that, in my opinion, is one of the reasons what happened in '95, and mostly the way I think it portrayed the U.S. Basically, the good guys, in this case, looking like idiots, not knowing, oh, you're delivering a bomb, a terrorist weapon, to kill the leader of another country. Thus, starting a war between both sides. And that's initially what the plot point is. The reason for this plot point and the bomb being delivered is to start a war between both Thembria and Cape Suzette, aka United States and Russia. So, yeah. Again, just several reasons to why this episode was taken down out of circulation. Now, Disney would kind of follow this trend a year later. Now, not with any bomb-like episode or anything, but with the episode of Darkwing Duck called Hot Spells. I think it was Hot Spells or Us or something like that. And I think just the way things would, certain characters and mythical and certain beings and stuff, and just the message, and just the overall message and story tone was enough to get it banned. Basically, there was like, I don't really know the context of it, but all I know is it's one of the episodes that, even though I think I've seen it once, was enough just because of the way it, like I say, represented and presented certain topics and beings and all that. It was enough for it to get taken out of circulation. Now, was it released on the first 2 volumes of Darkwing Duck on DVD? I haven't seen it. Will it get released on a possible 3rd volume or 4th volume? It may. But again, we just have to wait and see. But the point is, if you look up Hot Spells, matter of fact, I think that's what it is. Let me look it up right now. Basically, you'll see that you'll probably read up and find out exactly why it was banned. I mean, again, I was kind of surprised. I mean, when you find out, hey, when you start asking questions of, where's, oh, here we go. Now you can find it on YouTube. And let's see here. Let's see, you're trying to find it here. Hold on for a sec. I know they said something. It says it's a rarely seen episode, so